Hi, everybody. Today we have two goals. One of our goals is to review properties of rhombuses for our assessment on rhombuses and squares next week. And our second is to review quadratics and factoring, problems with x squared in them and how you solve them out. So we have three different types of problems we're going to be reviewing because there's three major properties of rhombuses that don't have to do with parallelograms. The first is, in a rhombus, all sides are congruent, meaning this side on the left is the same as this on the bottom. That seems obvious. What might not be obvious is, how do you solve this when there's x squared on one side and an x term on another side and numbers on both sides? What do you do? And the answer is, you have to make sure you set it equal to 0. Meaning one of the sides, usually the side that doesn't have x squared in it, you need to do the opposite to every term. When you do the opposite to every term, you cancel out the 2x's, cancel out the 3's. X squared and 2x do not combine. X squared gets rid of with minus 2x. They're not like terms. But negative 21 and negative 3 are like terms. They do combine. And you get something looking like this. Now, whether you use MAF or talk about what multiplies to and adds to, you're looking for what two numbers multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 2. Whoops, excuse me, negative 2. So, what two numbers multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 2? You think for a moment, not 24 and 1, not 12 and 2. 6 and 4 multiply to positive 24, but if one of them's negative, one of them's positive, negative 6 times positive 4 add to negative 24. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. If you're writing this correctly, you end up writing it with those numbers you came up with, not as your final answer. And then you'd set each part of these equal to 0. X minus 6 could be 0 if it multiplies to 0. Or x plus 4 equals 0. You end up getting two answers. X equals 6. X equals negative 4. Is it actually possible for these two numbers to be the two answers to the problems? It depends how you look at it. From an algebra perspective, absolutely 100% yes. You can have two answers for x. In fact, when you get to algebra 2, you'll have x third equations. When you get to algebra 2 and pre-calculus, you'll have x to the fourth or x to the fifth equations. Now, whatever number the exponent is a possibility that you have that many numbered different answers. From a geometry perspective, however, you have to be careful. If you plug 6 back in, 6 squared minus 21 is 15. Can you have a shape that has a side of 15? Yes. Negative 4, careful if you type it in the calculator correctly, squared is positive 16. Positive 16 minus 21 is negative 5. Can you have a side that's negative 5? No. So actually, there's only one answer to this problem. All right, next thing, diagonals are perpendicular. What does perpendicular mean? Perpendicular means the two lines form a right angle. What does a right angle mean? It means an angle is equal to 90. And we always set these problems with an x squared in them and an x in them and a number in them equal to 0. You only combine like terms, otherwise you just write them separately. X squared plus x minus 90 equals 0. Even though the number is not written there, when you have just an x, it's the same as a 1x. So what two numbers multiply to negative 90 and add to negative 1? And when you stop, that would be positive 1, excuse me. And when you stop to think about it here, the two numbers would have to be 9 and 10, with 10 being positive. So 10 and negative 9, because that would have to multiply to a negative number. So you take those numbers you just thought of and you put them in the parentheses. X plus 10, x minus 9 equals 0. Yes, the answers are always the opposite. So we get x equals negative 10. Sorry about that handwriting. It's a little tough to write on these. X equals positive 9. And you stop to think again, are those your two answers? Can you possibly have two answers? From an algebra perspective, yes. From a geometry perspective, not no. Maybe. Plug them back in. Negative 10 squared is 100, positive, not negative. Negative 10 times negative 10 is a positive 100. Plus negative 10 equals a positive answer, 90. It turns out, yes, negative 10 and positive 9 are both correct answers. It is possible to have two correct answers when you plug them back in. If you plug in 9 squared plus 9 is 90. Either way, you get 90. Two good answers. So careful. Sometimes you get two correct answers. Sometimes you only get one correct answer. It depends. Negative answers aren't necessarily wrong. You have to plug them back in. Last problem, diagonals bisect the angles. What that means, this angle and this angle are the same. Similar to the first problem, you set them equal. Similar to the first problem, you take the things not on the x squared side, subtract them over. X squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. Figure out what multiplies to negative 24 and adds negative 5. It's negative 8 and 3. Always has to be the opposite answers. And now you plug them back in. If you plug them back in, positive 8 squared is 64. All good. Negative 3 squared, positive 9. All good. Once again, we had two correct answers, even a negative one. So sometimes, like the first problem, you'll only have one correct answer. Sometimes, like the second and third problems, you'll have two correct answers. You'll always get two answers. You just need to check to see whether they're actually positive or negative. Hey, I've done 3 problems with all 3 rhombus properties. You'll end up doing 3 problems with all 3 rhombus properties. You'll do 3 quadratic problems. Please show all your work. Take a picture. Some of you have been trying to put things on Google Docs. Well, I want you to take a picture and upload the picture, not just give me a Google Doc. Just upload the picture that you do of all your work that you do on paper. Send it on in, and it's all good. 3 problems and you're done for the day. Hope you have a wonderful time. Touch base with me if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later.